It's time to talk Notre Dame football recruiting with the expert at Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com, Mike Singer, the Notre Dame football recruiting insider. Anytime there's quarterback news at Notre Dame, Mike, it is as big a news as you can get. And I think it's even more fascinating right now considering the last name of the player we're going to talk about, Carr. You think about the Notre Dame-Michigan rivalry. There was that Lloyd Carr guy on the sideline as head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. Well, he's grandpa in this particular conversation as we talk about his grandson, CJ Carr. Mike, first, offer a little perspective on Notre Dame's recruitment of CJ Carr.
Well, Notre Dame offered him when they saw him camp for the staff last June for Irish Invasion. He threw for Tommy Rees and everybody, and they offered him on the spot. And they brought him back for a visit in October. They brought him back for a visit in the spring. And then he was just back on campus this past weekend. So that's kind of a trend we've seen with Notre Dame recruiting is get him on campus in the summer, get him back for a game, and get him back in the spring. And then Notre Dame's kind of completed this cycle with Carr by having him on campus again in the summer. Darin, Notre Dame looks like the heavy favorite here. I mean, Tommy Rees has done a fantastic job. Notre Dame has kind of sold itself for CJ Carr, and you're talking about CJ Carr, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, and Jason Carr. His father played at Michigan. His mom went to Michigan. I mean, there's just a ton that says it's a no-brainer for him to go to Michigan. Various recruiting experts have been, pegging him to land with the Wolverines for quite some time. But as things stand right now, Darin, and he's committing in a couple days, things are looking good for the Fighting Irish.
Considering his heritage, would you consider this an upset?
It has to be, Darin. I mean, it's crazy if you say anything otherwise. Like, if you want to look at the micro here and just the, everything that's happened, let's say even back, 6 months with Harbaugh and, him maybe taking the Vikings job, maybe not, like he was flirting with the NFL, how Notre Dame's quarterback board is shaping. You take a look at the micro, then maybe it's not crazy, but listen. His last name is Carr, Carr. Again, Lloyd Carr's grandson. How long was he at Michigan? 20 years? I mean, come on. He's from Ann Arbor. I mean, the kid still is in Ann Arbor. His high school, I think, is like 10 minutes outside Ann Arbor. So, yes, it's an upset if Notre Dame lands this kid. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I can see it now. NBC pans the crowd, and there's Lloyd with his Notre Dame cap on, and that's going to be a unique sight, to say the least. Mike, let's talk about this weekend. CJ Carr was at Irish Invasion. What was the takeaway from his performance?
Smooth. He was as smooth as they come at the quarterback position, Darin. Just throws effortlessly. Real compact delivery. It's clean. He's got good size, 6'2", 6'3", and remember, he is going into his junior year of high school. I mean, the mechanics are very nice. The ball comes out with great velocity. I mean, when you watch him, and for folks watching this on YouTube, you see the clips of him from Irish Invasion camp. I mean, everything he does just looks very easy. It's like he was born to play quarterback, to be honest. And he, again, just everything just looks effortless, and he looks good throwing on the run to his right and to his left, Darin. I don't know where you would pick out holes in his game. Maybe if you're a couple inches taller, but again, he's just like, 15 or 16 years old, so plenty of time for him to continue to grow and develop physically. So all in all, I was very impressed with him in the one-on-ones and routes on air and just working with Tommy Rees and the staff. I mean, everything he did was pretty impressive.
Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com. Let me go with a two-part question. First off, it seems like just within the last couple of weeks, Michigan was considered the favorite for CJ Carr. Mike, do you have any gut feeling what changed? What is now putting Notre Dame in front of Michigan? And also, could you offer a little perspective on who the other finalists are for CJ Carr?
Yeah, I mean, look, part of it is, Michigan's always going to be the favorite for someone with the last name Carr until they're not. I know that's kind of an obvious statement, but look, Notre Dame has just trended in this recruitment. His visit this past weekend really seemed to be a game changer, and everything went extremely well from what I'm told. And Darin, at this Irish Invasion camp, he just seemed very, like, he had a bounce in his step. He's kind of dancing around, like he was just having fun, and he quite honestly looked like he was just at home. Like, that's kind of a term we use. This place feels like home, but like he really did just, felt like he was just, in the living room, just like dancing around and hanging out. Had a good time there. In terms of the finalists, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Georgia, LSU, Wisconsin. I think he's really picking between Michigan, Notre Dame, and Wisconsin. The Badgers have kind of flown under the radar as a big contender in the recruitment. Obviously, Michigan is a big contender. And then Notre Dame, who we do believe is leading for him again, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, commitment on CBS Sports HQ, which you can watch it there.
Mike, what about his ability to run with the football? Is that part of his skill set?
I don't think he's going to be, I don't think they're going to be calling a ton of read options with number 13 at quarterback, but I do think, it's a part of his game that he can get outside the pocket, extend plays, pick up some yards. I think just kind of your standard. Like, I don't think there's many statues at quarterback anymore. You've got to be able to move out of the pocket, and I think when he gets outside the pocket, it's to create more time for his receivers to get open, because he looks really good throwing the football on the run. I really like him across his body too, which is typically one of those things you don't want your quarterback throw across his body, but he looks really good doing it. So yeah, I would say more than functional mobility, Darin, but it's not, he's not going to be Tyler Buchner.
So, Mike, let's go back a couple of months. Had you told me in early June we were going to be having a conversation about Notre Dame getting a verbal commitment from a quarterback, 4 or 5-star, from the state of Michigan, I would have guessed we'd be talking about Dante Moore, who's in the 2023 class. Of course, CJ Carr's in the 2024 class. He's from Michigan. So this makes, I think, this story even more interesting that they're both from the state of Michigan. So, Mike, again, Dante Moore has not really offered up a whole lot of information during his recruitment. He's kept it close to the vest, which is his right. How do you think CJ Carr picking Notre Dame and the class after him affects his looking at the University of Notre Dame?
You're going to have to ask me again next week, Darin. We still need a little bit more time before we have a more clear picture on that. If you would have told me last week, that, hey, because you said 2 months ago, I'm talking about like last week. If you would have told me that this Detroit area quarterback would be coming in, it's Dante. I had been hearing that Notre Dame would not be pushing for any 2024 quarterbacks until the Fighting Irish had some indication from Dante Moore what he would be doing. I just think that as things have continued to develop here in both recruitments, you have Dante seemingly as a Notre Dame lean, shifting away from that more and more as the process has gone on, because it felt like he was going to commit to the Fighting Irish in the spring after he took that late March visit. And then it's Texas A&M's getting a visit here soon, and now we're hearing is stretching his recruitment into the fall. So you have that one seemingly trending away from Notre Dame, while CJ Carr seems to be trending towards Notre Dame. Now, again, we still have to wait 2 days to see if Carr does in fact pick Notre Dame. But right now, just for the sake of this conversation, let's assume he does. I don't know if Moore and Carr are going to go to the same school. So, so TBD on the Dante Moore discussion, and I would also add like it's too deep to be determined on 2023 quarterback recruiting as a whole. Like give me a week, give me 2 weeks. Like let's kind of see how this thing pans out because they still might go after Dante. They might look at some new players in 2023. Do they just say, we don't need one in this cycle? Or let's go get a transfer? Like various options on the table for Notre Dame. Notre Dame landing CJ Carr personally makes me feel less confident that the Irish get Dante Moore, which, for months now, I've been feeling pretty good about where Notre Dame's at there. But like you said, Darin, nothing's on the dotted line and things can change.
It's always twists and turns. You got to be ready for it. So CJ Carr is a quarterback in the 24 class. You have 2 other recruits right now in the 24 class. What does it mean for Notre Dame football recruiting in the 24 class to get a quarterback so quickly in that class? Does it make a difference at all in trying to acquire other talent? Hey, I know, Mike, people want to come to Notre Dame for those obvious reasons we always talk about. But does it make a difference having a quarterback who's willing to help recruiting to get him in this class so quickly?
You toss me up softballs all the time, Darin. I mean, yeah, of course it helps. Again, just want to reiterate, we got to see on Thursday. I mean, Carr was just at Notre Dame for the Irish Invasion camp, and there were some really good 2024 wide receivers. Cam Williams from Chicago. There was another big time 2024 receivers who escaped me. There's the 2 kids from Fort Wayne, Tay Johnson and Mylan Graham. You had a really good tight end and Jack Larson there. A fantastic running back and Anais Williams from Missouri. So just from that camp alone, there's players he could be recruiting. It helps that you have a quarterback committed early. He's highly ranked, a big name, All-American Bowl commit, all these things. So, you always want a quarterback committed early to help recruit the rest of your class for sure.
And let me ask one final question, just to follow up something you talked about a moment ago. You mentioned the possibility of Dante Moore's recruitment going into the fall. Is this a bit of a change from what everybody was expecting the process to unfold in this fashion?
I mean, Dante himself, I want to say maybe he had said at one point, like, I want to knock this out before the start of my senior season. But in recent interviews, he said that I'm just, taking my time with the process. So, again, it did feel like going into March or so that he was going to wrap it up in the spring. And then it felt like, all right, he's going to wrap it up late June or July, maybe August. And now it's looking like it's going to go into the fall because he's only taken 2 official visits. His trip to Texas A&M next weekend is for an unofficial. So he's got 3 more officials. This one just looks like it's going to take some time.
Well, Mike, we've talked about for a while that if Dante Moore picked Notre Dame, it was going to be the biggest quarterback recruit since Dane Christ. Well, CJ Carr is a pretty big deal as well. I mean, that's pretty high up the list as well in terms of important quarterbacks that the Irish have been able to acquire, hopefully, over the last 2 decades.
I mean, it looks like on these message boards and whatnot, Notre Dame fans are kind of like, we've been thinking about Dante Moore for, a year now or whatever it has been about him being our future quarterback. And like that, it's just, all right, Carr. Carr, they're both fantastic quarterbacks. I was talking to somebody on the phone today asking me who I think is better. I'm like, you're really splitting hairs. CJ Carr is fantastic. What we talked about, his smoothness, that quick release, Dante has that as well. I've seen Dante Moore in person 3 times, 3 times. It's my first time seeing Carr, second time seeing Carr in person. They're both really good. I would probably lean towards the player who is younger, just like if you have equal talents and one's a senior and one's a junior, you're playing the junior because you get 2 years out of them, right? That's the only reason I would say Carr is overall a more talented player than Moore. But again, you're really splitting hairs. Both fantastic players.
Well, for those of our listening audience and people watching this video that are members at Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com, they have a lot of options right now. Reading more about CJ Carr, you guys got a lot of stories up.
Yeah, plenty of content on CJ Carr posted at blueandgold.com here in the past 48 hours since Irish Invasion wrapped up. I mean, we've written a ton on him, so you'll have to go and check that out. And regardless of his decision, we'll have some content posted at blueandgold.com. And yeah, Darin, definitely a good time to sign up. We've had a great run of new signups here recently at blueandgold.com. Still $1 for 1 year premium access.
He is Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com. Mike, I enjoyed the visit. We'll be doing this again soon.
All right. Yep. Thanks, Darin.